Committee of a Whole meeting for Tuesday, December 15th. Persistent to Minnesota Statute 13D.02, the public body has determined that the Committee of the Whole will not be able to hold the meeting in person due to the pandemic COVID-19. Persistent to Statute 13D.021, the Committee of a Whole will be holding the meeting via telephone or by using Zoom. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If we could all rise for Pledge Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doing roll call. All council members are present. Good to see every one of you gentlemen in person. Any public comment at this time? Nobody on? Nobody wants to see us? All right, well, let's move on then to committee meeting items. Number 1, Public Works updates. Mr. Sylvester.
Mayor Johnson and members of City Council. So, Public Work updates for streets. Public Works has been posting doors for tree trimming and right-of-way areas, as well as parks and city-owned facilities. This will likely continue through the winter as time allows. Staff has been out doing some pothole patching. We had some potholes that kind of popped up here early winter, I should say. Staff has been preparing equipment for winter storage, as well as prepping equipment that's used for winter snow removal. Storm, we finished our fall cleanup of leaves of debris in streets. Sewer, we finished our annual air release valves, was completed for the final time this year. Our annual jetting was completed. This year we jetted out to each lift station. Generators have been set and are up and running with the exception of the Rum River Lift Station, the Community Center, and Well 1 PD Fire Department, and the transfer switch at City Hall we're still waiting for. So Rum River Lift Station and the Fire Department, those generators will be up and running by the end of the week. We're waiting for the transfer switch here at City Hall and the Community Center. That's what's the hold up on those right there. The clarifiers were shut down and cleaning at the wastewater treatment facility in early November. They remain down until spring. That's normal winter operations at the facility. As far as water goes, we had some issues with the MIAX at the water plant that staff was able to work through, and it actually was not a terrible thing because we had some new staff that hadn't seen some of those errors come through on that thing, so it was kind of a training opportunity for us to do with some of our newer guys. As far as the parks go, the sledding hill has been completed, and it's seen a lot of attention with the very little snow that we've had. So we got that early snowfall in October, and then we had that other little glitch that came through early November. The kids were out there like crazy on this sledding hill. So they were sledding on it till it was dirt, and they were still going down it when it was dirt. So they liked it. So the grand opening is scheduled for tomorrow with maybe some lack of some snow for now. The compost site was closed on November 8th and had another successful year with a lot of positive feedback from residents. Santa Day was last Friday, the 11th. We had a good turnout for that day. I think we had 90 kids came through and got their picture taken with Santa Claus. And the candy cane hunt was on December 13th, which was on Sunday afternoon, and we had a pretty good turnout for that too. Fall cleanup for leaves in the parks was completed for now, and there'll be some cleanup again in the spring when that time comes around. The winter ice sanding has been completed and sent out, and the farmers market ended on September 25th. That's what I got.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Sylvester?
Are they is the grand opening still gonna happen tomorrow, even though there's not enough snow to actually go sliding down it?
So what does it mean to have a grand opening? We're gonna have the council go down on a sled, I imagine. That was the original plan.
Yeah. You guys thought I was kidding.
I was serious. I would do it.
We're just going to have to,
Postpone it, I
help Steve
guess.
up and down.
Hog pile on Steve on the way down the hill, so.
Oh, come on.
George will
guess
take
I-
your place.
It's dark when I get home, so I didn't go by there today to see if there's anything left on there.
I haven't
Can't
either.
imagine there would be.
There's a dusting of snow at the bottom of the hill is basically what's here. The top half of the hill it's black.
Well, can we postpone it then? Just maybe have another unofficial one or something. I mean,
we could.
You could postpone it, and we would post it on the website and Facebook page to a later date to be determined.
This is shaping up to be like 2 years ago, when you got reamed over the coals for all that snow removal stuff. It all came in February.
It's gonna look kinda silly if we do an opening and there's no snow. They're gonna say, boy, those guys are really out of touch. They wanna open just letting go without any snow.
I'm blaming everything on Councilman Collison. It was his idea to build the thing.
I'm not the weatherman. I can't, or the,
You've been hounding that for quite a few years.
For eons.
I would imagine that we will get a better attendance if there's snow and the kids show up with sleds.
I would assume that too.
Yeah.
I just say we postpone it.
Okay, we'll postpone it. Thank you.
maybe, I know there's a sign out there, maybe just put a, like, postpone thing over the sign so you don't have to pull the whole sign out. Yeah.
One thing I want to bring up, and I mentioned this to Josie earlier because I've seen some people kind of upset that we don't have any Christmas decor on our streets, on Main Street. Didn't we used to have snowflakes or something else that we used to be on those years ago? I mean, it's got to be,
Yeah, there was like garland or something, or,
I had asked
forget
Jenny
what it
today if we had heard anything from Melissa Bentdorf, because Melissa usually contacts us in the fall about putting and coordinates with Isani Rental to rent the lift to hang up the Christmas decorations, and I haven't been contacted, so I was gonna reach out to Melissa to find out where we were at, if they were putting up or not, where we were at with that, or where she was, or what was the plan. Because you're right, we used to have different stuff that came from the chamber that we put up out there, that went on the creamery and the Isani retail meats had a couple of them, I think, and they were out there, yeah.
yeah,
And they're-
because there was,
Is Cambridge decorated?
yes.
Oh, how ironic.
Say,
That doesn't
because
mean-
there's
that doesn't
a
mean-
gentleman next door here
That
that,
might
I
be-
remember him coming in and blowing a gasket about that because it wasn't politically correct to
Decorate
for
the
Christmas.
holidays, yeah. I think that's what you're gonna find out. I used to sit on their board, and we do every year, and it got to the place where there was complaints by city
You
residents.
just decorate
they're-
happy holidays.
they're not, nothing is religious on what they used to hang up there. It's
No.
just decorations. It has, it doesn't have baby Jesus or,
I
don't know
think,
if it was
I
that
think
or
that's
they-
something we need to look into for next year, definitely. I mean, Ms. Woods and I have talked about a few other things going on, and Mayor Johnson's aware of some of that too, but I think this is something we gotta look into.
It will be on, Councilmember Lundin, it will be on goal setting to discuss a month from now, just so if that is the direction of council to do something like that, we'll be able to plan for it.
Good.
we want to,
Have you been to, have you taken your family out to Sam's Christmas Village
Never heard
in
of it.
Somerset? Check it out.
in Somerset?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's-
Councilman Gordon, have you heard of that? Check it out. Miss Wood,
I was there.
Councilman Lundy
I
and
sent,
myself went.
I sent Miss Wood and Mayor Johnson both pictures when I went during the week, last week, and they
Very
both
nice.
went Saturday. And it was done, even though you paid $15 a person to get in there and $10 to park, I think they did a very nice job.
12.
Was it 12? I don't know.
12 a person, 10 to park.
All I know is I gave my wife a $100 bill and I didn't get any change, so.
Well, duh.
For all you know, it was $3.
Well, that was your
to get
first
in then.
mistake.
Yeah.
She probably told you it was 15.
But it was done very tastefully. The lights were actually pretty pristine, nicely done. I kind of had a conversation with Miss Wood about a few things that we could, they took an old corn bin, the old corn cribs, metal ones. They had that set up
Decorated.
in there, and they'd put lights on it, and lights on the top, and people at the door, you walk in. You could even use dog kennels to make it look like presents. I mean, it's not something that's gonna be fairly cheap to do, but I mean, we can start working towards something more that way, but I think it was done very nicely.
I left in the Christmas spirit,
The,
and I wasn't when I got there.
the Christmas presents, like, what Cambridge did, they put them around their tree. They're just made out of plywood, and then they painted them.
Yep, yeah, that's,
So they can reuse them every year. But, if you use screws, then you can
I'll tell you this,
collapse 'em.
I know our Public Works Department's very creative because they built a chair for Santa Claus that was remarkable. I couldn't believe it. That thing looked like it looked like it was fitting for Santa Claus, that's for sure. My picture will come out, I'm sure, somewhere, because Mr. Sylvester took a picture of me and my family with Santa Claus, so we sent it to Miss Wood as a joke, and here she liked it. But, yeah, you guys ought to check that out. Take your families to that, by all means. I think, Chief Myers, I think your kids would love it, too. Miss Selman, your kids would love it. Mr. Becker, I bet your kids would even love it. Mr. Sylvester, you got older kids, but they'd love it. I'd check it out. I was brainstorming.
Go early. Go early.
I went late, and Miss Wood and I had that discussion. I waited 28 minutes to get through traffic to get in there. And then once I got in there, I went really quick. I kind of sneaked to the back of the ticket booth. Yeah, there's my picture. That chair was built by Public Works. Yeah, by Scott in Public Works, which was phenomenal. My kids couldn't get enough of Santa Claus.
Did you go around the local building sites and borrow some lumber? Or?
Scott is quite the carpenter. He did a beautiful job on that chair, and I commended him for it.
So for him to make presents out of plywood would be cake,
Yeah, and
after
they
seeing
just
that
used-
chair.
And they used some, like, made some stencils. You know, some are painted like they have ribbon around them, you know, and whatever.
I think next year we should just do something,
We'll talk about it at goal setting.
Absolutely.
And then we'll be able to put the plan together.
all right, let's move on to E2, Chapter 227, Parking and Storage, discussion.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So Mayor and Council, we have had this on the last one, but we didn't have enough time to discuss it. The major changes, the one that you see after the memo is the current. If you keep scrolling to where the page numbers are in the lower right corner, that's the revised and recommended version. Main changes are the definitions to match state statute, and then there was a table that was very confusing as an exhibit, and that table has been put into a text form, into words, under, let's see, section 227-8, so that's why a lot of that language is underlined. It's not new language per se, it just is changed because it's taken it out of a table. It was recommended to have discussion on if we wanted to allow and permit people to park trailers that may or may not include snowmobiles on them off their driveway, maybe in their yard during the snow time period from November 1st to March 31st. I've not included that in here yet, but if that's the direction that we want to go, that's something that could be added in addition to these revisions.
You know, back when I had leaky snowmobiles, it might leave a stain on the trailer, but nothing ever went through the trailer, you know.
Well, that's the worry, is if there's anything that could potentially leak oil into our soil, that's a no-no. I don't know, because I've never owned a snowmobile in my life. I got on one once and broke an arm, and I'll never get on one again, so I'm a little too dangerous for those things, apparently. But you would know, Councilman Gordon, I believe you brought this up, that there was a lot of people approaching you
Well,
about
I
it.
just had one person ask me about it, and, I mean, I think her request was more that, you know, I think right now they're allowed to park in the backyard or the side yard as long as they have some type of fencing or something to cover that up. You know, whatever trailer it might be, I think, aren't they? And Sheila maybe knows, yeah. so
No,
maybe
they
whether
would
it's-
need to be on an impervious surface. They couldn't just be in the
Even-
grass. That's never been allowed,
Okay, even in the backyard or the side yard,
correct?
too? Yeah, okay.
Well, if they kind of put them in their backyard and it was no harm, no foul, nobody could see them, you'd never know.
Well, if we don't receive a complaint and we don't go looking, correct?
Okay. But, I mean, my thought was, I mean, and what her question was, is why can't we just park it just off of the driveway? I mean, I don't want it to park it in the middle of the front yard, but, you know, if it's, I mean, most vehicles are, what, 8.5 feet wide or so at the largest? I mean, if we say within 10 feet of your driveway, I mean, during the winter months, I mean, that was kind of what, you know, what I was hoping to kind of get done for her. But
I don't know, I'd have to lean on
I don't see
Councilman
it.
Collison, you've owned snowmobiles,
Yeah,
so.
I don't see a problem with it. Like say, not too many people are riding through, in the winter, riding snowmobiles that are really bad leakers. 'Cause they're not gonna get far. They're
And I don't
usually-
know what
they're
type of
usually
trailer
pretty-
she was
yeah.
talking about, if it was an ice house or just a regular flatbed trailer for something. I mean, I don't know what, you know, what type of trailer it was that she was even asking about, but.
Most of them are either, you know, they're enclosed or they're metal, aluminum floor, or they're wood floor. And
Sure.
I've never seen any leak that bad other than maybe leave a stain on the wood floor of the trailer, but
So what I'm hearing is trailers, and we're not gonna define what type of trailer, just trailer, so it could be ice castle, it could be a snowmobile trailer, open, covered. We're perhaps not gonna put a size on it, but that would be allowed on a non-pervious surface, so in the grass potentially, from November 1st to March 31st. Do we wanna put
I
on
would.
the side of the driveway?
I would stipulate what kind of trailer.
Because an ice
You don't
castle
want
doesn't
both.
have any fuel in it. They don't have any oil or, unless they're hydraulics, and if somebody's gonna spend that kind of money, they sure aren't gonna let their hydraulics leak. I mean, realistically.
But you're saying to allow it, correct? Because we currently don't allow that
don't know if you
either,
will.
not on the grass.
Right. I don't know if you could say ATVs, snowmobiles, or fish houses. Because you don't want, I mean, if you say any trailer, and you're gonna have lots of people
We car trailer.
could.
I mean, I think we're all here to,
I'm getting at boats.
I think we're all here to be a little more friendlier to the community. I
Yeah.
think we've all agreed on that, and I think some of these were a little tight. I mean, some of them are,
When I first, before I decided to run for council the first time, I actually got a citation for my $40,000 bass boat in my driveway. That's how tight it used to be,
In your driveway?
in my driveway in the summer. And I wasn't doing bass tournaments every weekend, so
Yeah.
it's not like it was sitting there very long. But yeah, that's how tight it used to be.
That's crazy.
well, it was still tight. Even when I sat in this chair, it was pretty tight and unfriendly to the
So
community.
we're getting somewhere.
We're getting better.
Do you want it to be right off of the driveway? So it
Yeah, I
couldn't
would
be
think-
anywhere in the front yard, but it's gotta be within
On the border of the
10 feet
driveway.
of the driveway?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, nobody wants a boat sitting in the middle of.
Well, as long as they don't say 10 feet off the driveway, then they park the trailer. It's
Yeah.
gotta be 10
Within-
feet
within
off,
10 feet
Yeah,
of
within 10
paved
feet.
within
surface.
10 feet of the, you see, here's the whole thing I got. You put down blacktop, it's considered impervious surface. Blacktop leaches oil.
Was made from,
It's made from oil, and it leaches forever. That's an argument that I've always said it was kind of stupid. You can consider blacktop as asphalt, which is made by oil, which they spray oil down before they lay the blacktop down. It's kind of a double-edged sword at that point. I mean, you could look at a new driveway when it rains, in the summertime.
Yeah.
You could see the oil coming off, running down the driveway.
I have seen that. And
So
Mr.
that's kind of
Silvestri ain't objecting,
I mean,
so I'm agreeing to
Jason,
it.
you know what I'm talking about. It leaches. If it gets warm, it still leaches out oil product.
it's because after it dries out, it's because
Then it's shot.
there's no oil left in there.
Yeah, and it starts crumbling at that point. So,
So to have it be as tight as can be, so there is not any too much room for discretion, that there might be too many loopholes for our code enforcement to enforce what is or is not allowed. We want to restrict it to just fish house, ATV or snowmobile trailer, or do we just want to,
Oh, I don't
I don't
know.
want to see people,
A dirt bike, maybe not a big motorcycle, but if you're gonna put an ATV on there, you gotta put a dirt bike to be able to put a dirt bike.
yeah, but it's got to be trailered.
well, we
Yeah,
could
it's
call
gotta be a
it,
trailer.
I should say, we'll call it trailer for recreational vehicles, which encompasses dirt bike. We wouldn't name out dirt bike or ATV, but
Right, yeah.
recreational vehicle.
I just don't want to see people parking cars all over the place.
yeah.
Do we want to restrict the trailer size? So many square feet or length by width?
I don't,
What's that? Under 10,000 pounds?
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
That's why the chief's here.
Okay, So it'd be permitted in the grass within 10 feet of the driveway, just November 1st to March 31st. So it's kind of during that restricted can't park on the street time of year.
Yeah,
Everybody seems to agree on that?
yep, I'm good
Okay.
with that.
Otherwise, I don't have any, I'm sure you reviewed it, there aren't any other major changes. Like I said, there's a lot in the definitions, but that is for the best for state statute. The city attorney did review this, so it looked good for him too. So
Okay.
I'll make those changes, and then it'll be posted for the required 10 days, and then brought back to a upcoming council meeting.
Awesome. We'll move on to E3 then, the Isanian newsletter option discussion.
So, the Isani newsletter is put together quarterly and printed and mailed out to residents. That contract is about to expire here at the end of the year. In 2020, it cost the city $11,616.64 for that service to have it printed and mailed out. The question is, does council want to go digital and have the Isanian on the city website? We could still post it to Facebook, and we could mail it out to residents if they requested they get a copy, but there's a cost savings there if we did it. What's that?
And mail it potentially to the new residents in the area to let them know about it, that it's available digitally after that first one that they receive.
There's so many elderly in this community that's gonna throw a fit about that.
Well, that's why we have an option. I have no problem with it.
I have no problem with them. You gotta remember, my dad's 88 years old and he does more stuff on the computer than he does anything.
Really? Such a
Seriously.
Shocker.
Oh, yeah, I see elderly people doing computer.
But I think Matt's got the right idea. If somebody requests that they want one, I mean, I'll be willing to bet you 98% of the people are gonna just do it digitally.
So you'd probably want the request in before the first of the year, so you know how many you print then.
Well, actually, so with our new copier printer that we have the ability to print in-house. It wouldn't really be cost-effective to print 2,700 of them in-house, but if we're printing,
600?
25, 30, 40 of them, because people request that, or it's for new residents, quarterly, we can do that in-house. We're already spending the same amount of staff time to create it as if we paid to have it printed out of house versus in-house, so that kind of washes out the same. But we wouldn't go out for contract, we would just print it in-house now.
Matt, where do you picture it, putting it online? Right on the website, or,
Yeah.
We do that anyway.
oh, we do?
We do.
Yeah.
Well, there we go, there's a cost, that's a cost saving, I think that's great.
We don't post it to Facebook, but we certainly can. We can post it to a link. Well, sometimes maybe we do, I'm not sure, but actually, we can make sure that we put on Facebook, so then it's readily available for people, so they know it came out
Or at
in
least,
addition.
yeah, at least let them know that it's available on the website. I don't know if you have to put the whole thing on the website.
With a link to it, though.
Yeah,
Sure. I mean, one thing we could do too is either, maybe insert it into one of the local papers or the Scotsman or something like that. But you're not gonna save a ton, you're gonna save some postage, I suppose, but, or maybe just put all the information on just get a whole page in the newspaper and take that out instead of, printing the booklets. Then you're still getting it out in print form too, but, I'd like to save the money, just like you guys would, but there are a lot of people that like to read that.
I like
and it is a
paging
nice
through mine.
piece, and-
One thing I will say, though, from just what I see for visitors who come into City Hall, a lot of, as you mentioned, some of our elderly population, they like to come in and pay their water bill in person, so they get that hand receipt. We always have them available at City Hall too, and they can take it at that time. I'm not saying that they all do that, but we would have it there at the counter for them.
What if, I don't know, can you get those little newsstand deals and you can open up and grab one?
We have them right in the
It's in
doorway.
the
No,
lobby.
but I mean, if we put it outside, so people could get one outside of City Hall hours.
Okay.
is City Hall open right now? I forget.
No.
Nope,
So,
Still to the
so,
end of the
so
year.
can they step inside and get that, or not at all?
no,
Oh, okay,
the door is
so that would
locked.
be a good idea. Oops.
Sounds like they're all for it.
So we'll move forward with print, or making it like we currently do, but putting in the digital format. We'll print some in-house for those who request it, and once we put together our new resident packets, it'll be in there for those, so they know that it's available, and maybe we'll put like a note inside that says this is digital available on our website and give them that information.
I just like to look into it to see who the mayor is, I forget once.
All right, we'll move on to E4, intersection control at Heritage and East Dual update.
All right, so Mayor and Council, I wanted to give an update because this was discussed at the county board. So we discussed it here, made a recommendation over to the county board. County board discussed it. And after that discussion, we had heard, the mayor and myself, that some of the county commissioners had spoke to some of the members on the Minco Credit Union Board, and that they didn't seem that they actually wanted to work more with the city than we had heard. So I reached out to Peggy, and then actually I got called by the president, Doug Helverson, last week. And I had asked him if the discussion had gone to the board. He said it did. I asked him if the board was willing to sell us that piece of land, and if it did include the remodel, which was the takeaway that the mayor, myself, and Jason had when we attended a meeting with them. He said that he wasn't absolutely sure. He did know that he had heard that the county commissioners, or some of them, or one of them, had been talking to some of the members on the board. And so I said, just to make sure that we have covered all bases and I have all the information, I would respectfully request you to talk to the board again and ask if they are interested in selling us that piece of property to make a four-way intersection. And if it did or did not include that, we would have to pay for remodeling. He said he would. I have not heard back yet, but I wanted to give you that update that I opened that back up just to make sure and they had all the information.
So on another note, I've gotten probably a half a dozen emails from businesses up and down Heritage that are concerned that we put a roundabout in there. We're slowing down traffic. We're not stopping it. And they would like to see us stop it so the side streets can empty out. Because they're saying their businesses, when Federated Co-op was one of them, the hardware store was in one of them. I got contacted by the owner of that strip mall where Subway's at even. He was concerned that it takes a long time for people to come out. All of them were concerned about people coming out of the side streets, and they think a roundabout would slow it down, it wouldn't stop it, it wouldn't control it. Versus a stoplight, I said I would mention it to the council. Ultimately, I mean, we're pushing our thoughts and decisions to the board, the county board, and I don't know who's going to make that final decision, but
That's the biggest complaint I've gotten, is when we sent off the roundabout recommendation. I had a lot of people come into me and say, "Are you crazy?" And so, and I know Mike Waring was in favor of, we did a community service thing, Mike and I, and he was telling me why he was in favor of traffic light, and he kind of turned my mind and all that. But he thought that the board was more in favor of a roundabout themselves, so. But I think we should keep them in touch with the people are saying, I would say stoplight would probably be much better.
But you're still gonna have, well, that is if the Minco deal goes through, yeah, stoplight, four-way stoplight there.
it wouldn't matter. It could be a three-way.
My mother-in-law is upset with me about that decision, and so is Megan. And I
'Cause
mean,
they don't want a
I'd
roundabout.
say, well, the city engineer, if you just heard the facts, if you just listened to actually.
I did,
it does
and I
keep
still
the
wasn't
traffic-
for that
It
roundabout.
does keep the traffic moving. I mean, it works better, and the numbers show it, and
But
I
it
mean,
doesn't stop traffic.
And I used to hate roundabouts, but
Once you get used
but
to
why
'em.
why would you want to, once you get used to them, they're not a
They're
big deal.
easy.
And why would you want to stop traffic altogether? I'm just thinking about, like, say by Quick Trip there. I mean, that line of cars at a stoplight is gonna be
Yeah.
20 cars long. I mean, to get out of there, even when the light changes, you're gonna be lucky to make that light. Like, if you're trying to get out of Dual Square Mall, or you're trying to get out of Quick Trip, and you haven't already gotten out, I mean, it's gonna
And
back that up.
it's not even, I'm really cars are the least of my worry. You have all these people that are walking across from an apartments over to Quick Trip, and we're putting a roundabout in there for what? How are we stopping traffic for those pedestrians? I mean, people are gonna be so distracted about what's going around in this roundabout,
I guess-
they're gonna not see Councilman Gordon trying to cross the street, and then you're gonna get it.
I mean, the people want the stoplights, so I can change my mind on that, because I think they really, And Dan, I think the roundabout is the best way. I think it's the right
think-
way. I think it makes the most sense.
Well, I
think
heard
the
to
roundabout-
reach out to St. Francis. They put two right in front of a school.
Yeah.
And I hate them.
How do they deal with it?
I go through
Pedestrian
there all the time,
traffic.
and I don't think it's a problem. I prefer the roundabout for your average car, but I think Commissioner Waring brought up a good point that he goes, the semi, it's too tight in there for a semi.
No, it'd be wide enough. That's why I asked him. That was my main concern, plow trucks, all that, because I have to plow around about myself and it's not wide enough for.
I'm gonna give you my 2 cents. 9 out of 10 people are gonna say they want a stoplight. I prefer a stoplight, personal opinion. I'm one person. But I'm gonna tell you, 9 out of 10 people that approach me on this want a stoplight. I mean, it's a moot discussion because it's not gonna be our decision. We can go to the city, we can go to the county and say, we prefer a stoplight, but if the county says you're getting a roundabout, we're getting a roundabout. We have no choice in that matter. It's gonna be the county. So, we could sit there and discuss this for 16 hours. I think personally we gotta wait till we hear what Minco wants to do. We could sit there and argue this for 16 hours and not have one answer.
I don't think we're arguing it. I
No,
think we're discussing it.
what I'm just saying is, we can have this discussion for 16 hours until we get some facts from Minco. We really can't do anything about it.
The county board wants to know if it's possible for a four-way intersection, regardless, light or roundabout. They think that that would be the best for long-term. So I think that my next thing is to find out when that Minco board meeting is, and perhaps attend it if need be, and get that answer from them, so then everyone is on the same page and everyone has the correct information on all three sides.
As long as the chief is here, do you have a contact at St. Francis PD? I'm assuming you do. Is that a phone call you can make to see how the traffic incidents and pedestrian incidents have been since they've put those roundabouts in? It just, maybe those numbers would be good to know.
Like I say, I'm down there all the time. I never see anybody
Yeah.
cross down there. Do you? I mean, you're down there, aren't you?
Yeah, I
Looking
go
for the
through there quite
school.
a bit. That's right in front of the high school, two of them.
Well, then I must not go during school because, or of course, school's been so sporadic.
We don't get people to stop for our uncontrolled crosswalks now, and now you wanna put a roundabout in there?
Well, we can
Well,
discuss
let's see
further.
what-
We'll keep moving on. We
Let's
can
see what
discuss
Minco
further
says,
when-
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on to E5, the liquor store.
We're gonna actually skip that till 6 o'clock, Mayor, if we could. We'll go on to the next one. The architect will be attending at 6 PM.
Okay, E6 then, the metal detecting on city property. So, somebody emailed me, this is not the first, the second, this is now the third time somebody's emailed me wanting to do metal detecting. This one currently was on the property we just purchased over by Colburn's for the liquor store. He knew the house was built, he gave me an exact date, for crying out loud. He had done his research when that house was built, how long it had been sitting there. He wanted to just go in there and metal detect it, and if he found anything interesting, he was willing to put it in our case. It's just a hobby of his. Of course, you all know me, I'm all about liability, so first question I said was, well, let me look into this and I'll get back to you. So I contacted Ms. Wood, and I said, Josie, you know me, I'm all about no liability for the city, so do what you gotta do and get back to me, and Josie, you can take it from here.
Yeah, so I did reach out to the city attorney, because as you can imagine, there are some things of having somebody on our property and what are they doing. And Katie reached out to the league also, so it sounds like, as long as they fill out a liability indemnification waiver stating that they are not the responsibility of the city, we could permit it to happen. Recommendations to have a policy, so it has stipulations that they sign. I'm gonna be out there at this day, at this time. Rules that say that, if you dig a hole, you must fill it in, these kinds of things. So if the direction of the council is that we want to allow it,
If you break your leg, we're not liable. If you fall in that hole, we're not
If you
liable.
hit underground
you
utilities?
could damage something. So my thing would be, we would want to come up with a policy that had a lot of stipulations and requirements, but also, where would we want to permit it? Would it be on any city property? Would it be on vacant city property? Would it be within city parks? Where would we allow it?
You don't want someone to start digging a hole in the middle of Legacy Trail.
No, nor do I want them digging in parks. I mean,
I don't know,
I think it should be a case-by-case situation. If they want to dig here, we don't, we want to know when they're out there.
I think we should just review it. I mean, I've seen those people, they're pretty meticulous about it. They usually don't.
they're
leave
pretty
big-
respectful.
They usually don't really big divots with it, but I mean, if we found it was a problem,
I mean.
Which
doing-
this guy,
I think some
I
of those
just,
detectors go down quite a ways, so if they found something that, let's just say 4 feet down, I suppose it depends on how quality of a unit you have, but if it goes 4 feet down and they really want what's down there, are they gonna dig a 4 feet hole? Do we wanna allow them to dig beyond a certain depth?
I don't know.
I just spoke to the guy again last night, and I did tell him exactly what our attorney had said, what our city administrator had said. I couldn't disagree with either one of them.
Technically, they should call Gopher 4 before they go out there and start searching or digging. too.
especially if they're
I mean,
going 4
so-
feet down. Yeah, absolutely. That's a ways.
Or you could put that in the policy if we wanna allow that.
But then
I
you're
don't-
gonna have
yeah.
someone coming out there and marking everything.
Well, I don't think
And
we,
including our
And you
public works
guys would
time,
have to
too.
go out there.
Yeah.
I just don't think they should go out and do it whenever they want to. I think they need to come into the city and set a time so that we can be notified that when they're going out there. What happens if something did happen to them and nobody knew they were there? At least we'd know they're there. And if they did get hurt, we'd know where we could look. You know, I mean, Chief Myers would be the first one's gonna get a call on that. Anyway, no matter what, somebody say, hey, what the heck is Tanya doing out here digging and you're here? I think if we're gonna allow it, it should be with a notification of when they do it and set hours between that, so we know that they're there at that time.
And this gentleman that I spoke to just last night, he didn't have a problem with signing a waiver. He didn't have a problem with telling us when he was gonna be out there.
Did he say how deep they dig typically?
He did not, but I could reach out to him again and ask.
Right. Perhaps we would want to limit it to a certain depth, so we don't have to worry, because I mean, the last thing we want to do is Public Works, go out there and check, did they fill their holes in? I mean, it could be kind of like a,
I informed him we were gonna be talking about it tonight, that he was more than welcome to come in via Zoom and see the discussion.
Irrigation lines aren't very low, far underground either.
Yeah, but he's talking about, we just bought that property, so,
Right.
you know, it's a,
But are you gonna write a policy just for that property for a short period of time before we develop it?
well, what happens if somebody
know.
bought something else? Or what if there was something the city already owned and, I mean, personally, I
there's
don't
just
want
too
him to
many
go into the
variables.
park and do it.
I
I'll
think
tell you, the
there's-
first place he should go is Shorty Orlander's old place. That's probably a gold mine over there.
well, let's use, for example, instead of that new property that we technically don't have the documents, we couldn't allow it yet on that. Maybe I'm hearing that we don't want to allow it in parks, but what about like our industrial park? Undeveloped, doesn't have irrigation, do we want to permit it in our industrial park? Empty lots?
Well, my guess is nobody wants to go there because nobody else goes there. I mean, they want to go to a park where people have been and dropped quarters and pennies and,
Yeah.
you know, that's the deal. They want to go where
Jewelry.
people have been. That's,
So perhaps we could let them use their metal detector unit, but not do any digging, because they're looking for surface materials? We could put that in the policy?
Then why would they use a metal detector if they're
To
not
find
gonna
it.
dig?
If it's in the bushes,
Somebody could've lost their ring.
Yeah, if
They're
you're looking for
sweeping.
rings or quarters or
they're
stuff laying
sweeping on
around.
the top of the ground.
my
And
guess
the-
is most of the stuff is within 3-4 inches of the top anyway. Because I see them digging with this little tool that they're not really digging.
It's a little gardening hole. That's what they dig with. So they're not, it's not like they're digging 3x3 holes in the ground and, I mean, they dig a little tiny hole.
Maybe we ask the person to send you a request in, where, well, we know where, I guess, but how deep? I mean, I just don't know how,
I could definitely reach back out to them and ask them for more information.
and in the meantime, I can do some research, if you would like me to do some research on if other cities permit it, and maybe if they have policies we can look at to see if they have stipulations on where, depth, and,
I
mean,
would do that.
I can see a beach, you know, that's popular.
There's a lot of,
Beach.
what
It's
is the
easy to
word
fill
I'm
your
looking
hole
for?
back in.
There's a lot of historical land in this city that people just wanna go look.
I'd say you allow it, and then if they want to dig further than a certain depth, then we say you have to get permission for that, you know, I mean,
I don't want them digging to China or anything, but
We don't want holes in the, you know, nice irrigated
yeah.
park
right,
either.
Right. But if they say, hey, I found something I think would be really cool and really of historical importance, well then, come see us, and maybe we'll give you permission to do it.
I would do my homework with other cities, most definitely. I could get more information from this gentleman, and we can bring this back when we've done a little more homework.
Yeah, he's probably not gonna dig over the.
And maybe
roof
ask
anyway,
how
so.
deep typically he
Yeah.
digs or whatever. Okay,
Go to E7, the fire district purchase update.
all right, so I sent Al an email yesterday, just giving him an update where we were at. The parcel has been split, so we do, it's been recorded with the county. It'll take some time before Beacon's updated, where we have a parcel for well house number 1 and from the PD Fire District facility. I will be sending a revised lease purchase agreement to Al once I get that completed. That will have language in there about the generator being our sole responsibility. There's no need to have a separate generator agreement anymore if they're not paying for anything, so that'll be included. We also, as I just happened to realize one day, is we have that community billboard sign. So for us to maintain that sign would require a sign easement, so that would be included. Now, Al has asked, things about, you know, what about the sign? I said, well, it would be city property, the sign, just the sign. They technically still own the land. I asked Al to request from the board tomorrow at their meeting that we be granted that sign easement. I imagine that we will move that community sign over to our new location, but in the meantime, I need it written in the agreement that it's our sign. Unless council, you have a different direction, if you had planned to give them that sign, I hadn't heard that, please let me know.
I'd like to move the sign to the new police department.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to do. Personally, I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Unless you
So that's
still
where- yeah.
look, unless we were still looking down the road at a digital sign.
Yeah, that'd be ideal.
That's what we were talking about at the liquor store, the digital sign anyway.
Well,
What I
for
understood.
the liquor store.
Yeah, but we could still do our community bulletins on that same sign.
Yeah, we could. Or we could
Here's what I'm gonna say. How much is it gonna cost to move that sign? How much is it gonna cost to build a new one? It's probably gonna cost us more to move that damn sign than it is to build a new one. I hate to tell you.
Public Works put it up, did those posts, they're really just,
Post hole
6 by
bigger?
6 posts that are into the ground.
So,
and
Yeah,
there's
they're
some
just,
landscaping.
I don't think it would take, it comes apart fairly easy.
Well, what I'm referring to though, you're gonna have to take the time to dig that one out. Then you're gonna have to take the time to go over and dig the holes in for the new, to move them over there. Then you're gonna have to take the time to move it over there, which you could probably call Menards and say, here's our credit card, send us the material, and it's there. You go dig the posts in, we're not talking we're not talking $100,000 in material. It would be just as, then we could build a different sign over there to do the same community bulletin, plus being a PD sign, it might be a little bit different configuration and everything else. Personally, it's gonna cost us twice as much to move it than it is just to put a new one in.
I like the trains on the,
You,
I like the trains on the sign though. I mean, you could just leave the posts in and just move the
yeah,
face of it, right?
yeah.
And then the fire department could use those posts for their sign,
They
maybe?
brought in.
More, and that would probably be more for their liking anyway. They could do what they wanted on that.
Yeah.
As long as the posts are there, what difference does it make?
Right.
You know,
I think Al kinda wants to put like a fire bell out there and stuff like that, and so.
Cool.
I think they either they'd like to keep the sign, or, you know, maybe at least have the sign for themselves to,
I was just say, maybe we just leave the posts and they can,
yeah, or they can do what they want with it,
and then,
So I don't even think it'd be worth it. I'd let them keep the thing.
yeah.
but
And
it's
we'll
got,
build a new one.
I mean, I did not type
Doesn't
in
it
the
got the-
pricing, but with the brackets to put the lettering and stuff in, I'm
and the
going to
train,
guess
isn't there
on a
the
conservative side with
trains
Public
on there?
Works building it and having the new sign, if we wanted to duplicate it, and Public Works building it, but paying for the signs for, it's just vinyl lettering, it's probably gonna be about $2,000. So it's, if the council wants to incur that cost, or potentially whatever cost it is, we could leave it, and then I won't do a sign, easement.
I think, I mean, the more and more we keep going into this, it seems like they throwing us a curveball, we're throwing them a curveball, they're throwing us another one, we're throwing them another, I mean.
well, technically, they're buying that land.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
let
I
him
would- I
keep the
would've just
sign.
assumed the sign was theirs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let him
but
keep
then
it. If he wants to put his own sign up or put a bell on the thing, cool. I mean, it would be kind of cool. I think we should get our own darn sign.
Yeah, when it comes to the new PD building, I mean, there will be sufficient funds within that project itself. If we need to peel off $2 or $3 grand to put a new sign up at the new site,
Cool.
That's not gonna make or break that project by any stretch.
That's what I say.
My opinion is let them have the sign.
I agree.
Okay, that's what I will do.
Rest of you guys?
I'm-
Dan?
Okay with that?
I'm okay with that. I just didn't know if there's any,
Just one timing issue, I guess, would be, when's the PD, like, gonna actually be set up for the new location versus when is it sold? Is that a
5
same?
years, it'll be fine.
I just mean for use of the sign, is there gonna be
I would
a
imagine
gap?
that we will continue use of this.
Well, they can't take ownership of that property for 5 years.
Yeah.
It's still ours.
So we still use that sign for that 5 years, but as soon as they take ownership out of it, it's their sign. We need to get a new
So I no
one.
longer need a survey or anything like that for that sign, but I will write it, the language in there that we will use the sign until we close.
Absolutely.
Change the language a little bit.
One other question that I know that we were talking about recently was, they had hoped to add on to that, the bays there, and to go toward the water, the pump house and stuff there. Well, apparently there's rules that you can't build within 40 feet of the pump house head where that water actually comes through unless it's on your property. So even, like, so how before we had discussed having an easement for that, and then they would just buy the property that the house is on, and we would have an easement for us to use it, and we didn't wanna do that. But then that's gonna prevent them, by not having them buy that property, they won't be able to add more bays onto that,
It still
section
doesn't
of
matter,
the
the
building.
Department of Health wouldn't allow it, them to
even if it's
build.
on their property? Is that-
It's because it's
Wellhead
because of what it
protection.
is. What's that?
wellhead protection plan.
Right.
Yep.
They still wouldn't be able to.
Can they
And
build on
Al was very aware of that last month.
Can they build on the backside of that? I mean, they couldn't add a drive-through bay, but could they add,
'Cause
I mean,
I talked to him today, and he's still, because he was, I don't think he was aware of it, because I mean, I think he was, they were hoping to add on to it. I mean, maybe he's been aware now for a while that he
Yeah.
couldn't do that. You're right about that.
Yeah, he's the one that called Department of
We'll
Health.
find out, huh?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
He was the one that brought it up to Josie's and Maya's attention.
Okay.
So he was very well aware of that. I had this conversation with him a month ago. He was very aware of that.
I thought he thought if it was on the fire department's property that they would be able to add on to it. No?
No. He knew that.
what about the backside, though?
They can. That's their property.
They just gotta meet setbacks.
Yeah, you just gotta stay 40 feet away from the well. So, I mean, you could potentially,
There's a lot of space
you could
behind there, isn't there?
potentially, you know, on the
Build deeper,
backside where
yeah.
the parking lot is, you could put a bay there, but you'd still, you know, it's gonna be kinda L-shaped, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, when I talked to him today, though, I thought he was more under the impression that if it was on their property, then they would be able to build closer to it, but that's not the case, huh? Okay.
Well, Matt looked into that and talked to the Department of Health. I mean, if Al did talk to them again recently and found out new information, that's not the information that we received from the Department of Health.
Okay.
They have to be 40 feet.
I think it was 50. I
Okay.
think it's 50 feet from the actual well in the pump, so it's not the
actual
building,
pump.
it's the actual pipe coming out of the ground. That's where you start to measure from right there.
Is that in the center of the building?
And it's on the north end of the building, kind of northeast corner to a certain extent.
So that gives them a little more room in there.
A little more room.
So they could potentially build a bay on the backside, like I'm saying, but they couldn't come all the way to the front,
To the east
to the west.
or west?
Northwest corner.
West.
So the
Potentially,
northwest
yeah,
corner they could build onto,
It's
but
a 50-foot circle around that pump, wherever they.
Well,
they
that
take and
wellhead.
measure it.
they'd have room.
I want to say that where the generator sits right now from that well, I want to say that's 20 feet, just over 20 feet from there to the front of the generator, to give you a reference.
I think what he's wanting to do is he's wanting to build 2 bays on to park those Impalas in.
Probably.
So he could do that, but he's still gonna have to pull out in one direction. He can't drive through.
Yeah,
Well, eventually you'd have the PD bay.
yeah, right. No, I mean, I don't think it was a deal breaker by any means. I just think he was just hoping to have the option to build further, but I think he thought it was if they owned the property and then the city had the easement, then they
No,
could,
he's
but
well
that's not
aware of
right,
that.
though. Okay.
The other updates I have on it is that tonight at the planning commission meeting, it will be a public hearing to discuss adding fire department as a permitted use in the R3A district. And then lastly, I did receive quotes for the O&E, which is something that was requested on them to complete title encumbrance report, so I'll be working on getting them that. That's all I have.
Awesome. Let's move on to E8, the liquor store license fee discussion. This is another one that I brought to Josie's attention because, as you're all aware, Cambridge just waived all the fees for their businesses on their liquor store license. And now I'm getting, I just got 2 more today asking if we were going to do it. No, the liquor
license.
license. Did I say liquor store? Oh, I'm sorry. Liquor
license.
license fee discussion, sorry. I seen John walk in the door and right away I started thinking liquor store, so welcome. John.
Let's clarify something. Is that because of just this year, or is this something they plan on doing every year?
I think it's just this year
I think
because
it's
of
for
our,
2021.
Through
for the whole
2021?
year.
Well, I guess they'll do it through the COVID, or however long that lasts. But
So-
it's probably just,
Well, I mean, I think you and I figured it out that we kind of looked at, it would be, what did Cambridge, they said it was like a $16,000 loss per se, because they weren't enforcing those fees. I don't know that ours would even be that much.
I think ours would be approximately $10,000 if you did not include some of those others, like not the brewery, because they don't get the on-sale liquor license. They have other liquor license for the brew pub. But it potentially could be as high as 15,000 if you did everybody who had on and off sale, if you're waiving everything. It depends what you want to waive. If it's just on sale, approximately 10,000.
I mean, I for one, I'm all about helping out businesses by all means. I mean, everybody's taking a hit. Unless you're a liquor store.
I'm not going to say if I'm for or against it, but I do want to bring up that there might be other businesses who have other license that they apply for example, like the pawn shop, their $1,500 license, they've experienced a hardship potentially as well. Do we just want to consider it for on-sale liquor, or is it others? I mean, that cost goes up for lost revenue, but just want to throw that out there. Some people may ask if others receive it and they don't, but they have a hardship.
I don't know, I guess the restaurant bars, were shut down, were, you know, I don't know, beauticians, they don't have to pull a license, do they, with the city?
Did you read the article?
Annually?
Councilman Collison, did you read that article in the?
Yeah.
So you know specifically what Cambridge did and what,
Well, not, I guess, some of what the article had said, but I'm just, like,
I found it odd that they said one amount in the beginning and then a different amount at the end. And
To answer your question, Councilman, remember, we don't have, like a business license, like where the stylists or the
Right,
spas or whatever.
that's all through the state.
Right, we have certain licenses that, we have the peddlers,
Tobacco.
solicitors, tobacco, liquor, pawn shop.
I guess out of all of them, who was directed by the state to shut down? That's the ones I would look at.
Restaurants or liquor.
Restaurant and
Whether you
liquor.
had liquor or not, but,
Yeah.
yeah, restaurants.
How about we did something like this? If they paid their 2000 or 2020 license fee, let that carry on through 2021, then after that, they gotta renew their license for 2022. Because let's face it, at least 6 months of this year,
They
if
still have
not
to,
more.
they have to, I think they still have to legally go through the license procedure. They just won't get charged for it.
They won't get charged for it. That's what I'm referring to. As long as they paid to 2020,
then they don't pay the 2021.
they don't have to pay 2021. But if they didn't have a 2021, it's the year 2020, if they didn't have a liquor license at that time, then you have to apply for one in
So
2021.
if they're not looking to renew their license, if they're looking to get a new one, that's different. Renewing and new is different.
I mean, I understand
Good point.
because they've been shut down at least minimum 6 months, if not 9, of this year. And that affected them wholeheartedly. And I mean, so if somebody all of a sudden decides they're gonna open up a restaurant bar in
Well,
2021 and they didn't have a 2020,
I see what you're saying. I mean, I hate to pick on your business because I love it, but if you decided to get a liquor license, it wouldn't apply to you. But if you
Well,
already
right.
had one, then,
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I
think
mean, the
that's
pawn shops, I mean, they were totally closed, weren't they, when retail
No.
was totally closed at the beginning? of
First
it?
time
Retail?
around, first time around.
First time around, everybody was
First time around-
closed.
First
They had
time
to do
around, the
curb-
pawn shop closed. I'm
Yeah.
down this, I'm just down the road from him, and he was
Yeah.
closed.
They were closed just for, they had to do curbside, what was allowed, well,
They could do
it's pretty
curbside?
difficult for pawn shop,
pretty
if you don't
tough.
have an inventory online, I would imagine, but.
Yeah.
I think this is,
This is the architect, I think, that just popped in.
I think you have to realize, just being in business myself, and I don't know, can't speak for you, Jimmy, but,
I can't see his name. Mike. Mike, give us just a second, sir.
I think that just because you're open doesn't mean you're running a full business. I mean, I've been open and we lost a third of our business.
Right, but.
And we bounced back and then we came
We're-
back
yeah.
again and it's been an.
Are you
up and down.
licensed? Do you have to apply for license with the city, though?
Oh, I
That's-
don't know.
right.
I'm
See,
just-
that's
I'm
the
just- But I'm
difference
just saying, well, I'm just saying that
we're
some
discussing.
people, you know, I'm just saying, if there's any other license out there, we should consider it just because I'm sure everybody's been hit by, would be my guess. Even the pawn shop.
Yeah, but we're just discussing,
I don't think the pawn shop got a big hit like these restaurant and bars are, by all means. The pawn shop was closed for, what, a month? I mean, everybody was closed for a month.
Like 3, I think.
Was it 3 months?
Yeah.
I think the initial one was like 3
Curbside,
months.
delivery.
yeah.
But they were curbside, so they still were allowed to do business. They just had
Pretty
to do
tough
it
for people to
curbside.
Pretty tough for people to shop from the curb though for a pawn
if
shop.
people
is-
need to
it's
pawn
still-
something, they're
Go
still gonna
online,
do
look
it.
at my
Yeah,
product.
when you say, when you
Yeah,
say
new
things
stuff
are
coming and
open,
going
they're
all the
really
time.
not open. There is a difference.
One thing we could do, Mayor and Council, is most of these, with the architect, most of these businesses, were the ones that we're discussing, the pawn shop and the liquor, is coming up in March, so we have some time. I know maybe they'd like an answer sooner than later, but we could pull together some numbers and see, okay, what all do we charge for city fees? Who we think were impacted? Here's the amount of revenue that we would consider lost revenue if we waived them and bring it back to January. Or you can make a decision now too, but that's something else we could, it depends on how much.
I think it would be fair to do restaurant bar, by all means,
For sure,
for sure.
because I mean, they're closed again.
Yeah.
Nothing against Northern Pound. I love Joel. He's a great guy and I'm glad he's in town. But like you said, maybe, I don't want to totally exclude him right now. I'm not going to say that, but for sure restaurant bars that were ordered by the governor to be shut down that require a liquor license.
And what else do we have for city I mean, tattoo shops are city licensed or?
State.
They're state.
They're state.
And then it's basically pawn shop, liquor.
Pawn shop and liquor,
Peddler.
yeah. But those are so
Yeah.
small.
Yeah, those are so small, though,
Merchandise.
yeah.
and then a lot of those peddlers license, they didn't apply for them this year because they couldn't use them anyway.
Yeah.
But it maybe wouldn't be just on sale, we would include, and then we only have the one, but
You're knocking my door
brewery.
peddling right now. I'm not even answering it. I'll
What's that?
talk to you through my ring.
So basically, we're just talking the VFW Junction Bowl.
winter greens.
Winter
Greens.
greens,
Winter Greens has been open though. I mean, you can do
curbside.
curbside. I
Or
once a
takeout.
week over there,
Yeah.
and
Or
they also have
takeout.
curbside.
But
They
they,
sell liquor too.
Yeah.
They don't have the patrons coming in and sitting at the
They're
bar.
not making nearly the money they could be if they
Yeah,
were.
that's a pawn shop too, so, you know.
I like
Well,
what
we
And
got
the
Steve,
brewery
I
would
like
be
what Steve
include the
said though,
brewery.
but I just would
I
like
mean,
to
that's
apply
a
it to
smaller
the pawn
license
shop
fee,
too.
but
Yeah.
that
Any
also
of the
is a
other ones,
license
but-
fee.
I'm fine with that.
5, including the pawn shop?
We got,
We only have the one pawn shop, so it would be,
That's golf course?
golf course was open.
do they have a liquor license? Oh, yeah, golf course.
So 6.
Well, and
Is
then
that
we probably, I haven't looked and researched it, but we might have, our caterer's license. They usually have a liquor license.
Who?
So if we have any
Caterers.
caterers
Oh.
in town, they might have a liquor license to be able to sell liquor at their events that they cater.
I like Councilman Lundin's idea. I mean, if you've had a liquor license in 2020, then you shouldn't have to pay in 2021.
But they need to come in and apply for it.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
I think we can hash some more of that out, but I think right now we got a couple
Yeah.
of people waiting for us.
Yeah, so
I'm not opposed to including the pawn shop, though. I mean,
I'm not either.
I'm not either.
We'll bring something back for consideration.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's fall back to E5 then, the liquor store architect discussion. I see we have Mike and Tim.
We do, we have Mike Englund on Zoom as well as Tim Huel. They are from Widseth, engineering firm. Mike is, well, they're both engineers. I believe that Mike is an architect. And they are here to hear the discussion from council on what we're what our vision is for our new liquor store, and then they can share some of their insights of how to get what we're looking for completed. And then from there, they will put together a cost proposal. So I'll, Mayor or
Well-
Lundin, if you'd like to start us off?
I think I'm going to piggyback this with Councilman Lundin, and I'm not going to disclude John either, because this is, after all, his store. I hate to pay, I won't even say their name, but the old architect had, or a proposed architect had a interior designer that was included in their proposal, which I thought was utterly ridiculous. The other thing was, as Councilman Lundin made a good point, we wanted a pitched roof versus a flat roof, and they were telling us it was going to cost us more money to do the pitched roof versus a flat roof. Councilman Lundin's been in this industry for 40-plus years, and he knew that to be wrong. John, Councilman Lundin, I can let you, Councilman Lundin, you were very passionate about this, so.
Well, thanks, Mike and Tim. I appreciate being here. I worked on one of your projects, Cornerstone Building in Forest Lake. And Mike Cook gave us your number, which he's very passionate about, both you guys, very well. Mr. Cook from PMI, we've had that conversation about a pitched roof, and he has said the same thing. Our city administrator, Ms. Woods, and the mayor, I sent them both a video of one of the buildings we're doing down at the YMCA in Lakeville with the pitched roof with standing metal seam. They both seen that. They've seen what I was referring to there. Personally, I'd like to see something like Cornerstone Building. I think that's a very, very nice building. And I have talked to some other builders, and they are aware of you guys and know that you're both very good guys. So it's basically looking at something like Cornerstone. I can't remember how many square feet was Cornerstone, do you know?
I don't recall the square feet, Tim Hool. I think you're on mute, but do you recall?
Unmute yourself, Tim.
If you're on a phone, Tim.
Looks like he's trying to figure that out.
Or if you're on a phone, *6, Tim, is how you unmute yourself. There you go.
go.
No, I was, sorry about that, folks. I've got 3 computer screens open and my mouse was on the wrong computer screen. I don't have the square footage of Cornerstone. We did break it into 3 tenant spaces of varying sizes as the building kind of lessened in width. So, but I know Mike's worked on a previous liquor store actually that almost has the exact square footage.
So you gentlemen are aware of the square footage we're looking at currently, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And actually, I have looked through a lot of the documentation that you put together thus far. So the preliminary floor plan, a lot of the interior imagery in terms of what you guys are thinking, the needs and the wants, and it's an impressive list. I mean, not very often do you get a chance to meet with clients that have done a lot of work and, in my opinion, put forth a lot of effort so far. So it's impressive what you have. And so, yeah, as Tim had alluded to, I do have liquor store experience. I've worked with liquor distributors and breweries and a variety of different types of projects. But yeah, it was really helpful to receive that information from the city administrator, and really looking forward to hear what your thoughts are, what your expectations are. And I could certainly answer any questions and provide any insight that I may have for you.
Well, off camera, gentlemen, is our liquor store manager, John Jacoby. I think the council and I feel the same way, that ultimately we want him to retire as the manager in our liquor store. So it's kind of one of those things that we're saying, John, you ask what you want, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to receive. So I'll let John speak up, and he can tell you what kind of things he's looking for and what his wants are. And then if there's anything the council needs to jump on John, we'll figuratively do it, not literally.
Okay, thanks, guys. Yeah, I've been in the industry quite a while, actually about 15 years. So So I just wanted to ask, is Mike, is he the one on the top screen?
Correct.
So you said you built a liquor store. Which liquor store did you build initially, just out of curiosity?
I worked on West Side Liquor up here in Baxter. I've also worked on other liquor stores, one in Pequot Lakes, the Oasis Liquor Store. But I would say West Side is probably the most applicable liquor store experience that I've had.
Okay. So a lot of, like, the plans that preliminary that we drew up, my assistant and I, just kind of our wants and needs. The main thing is, that sales floor, we just kind of put together with the square footage that we had. The main thing is obviously to have a big beer cooler, a walk-in cooler for case beer. And then I think it's 23 or 24 doors of rail cooler. Those are the key things that we want in that store. And then sales floor racking against the back walls and things like that. And I know Councilman Lundin was really wanted a pitched roof. And I understand that. And we wanted to look at ideas for cost and how much, the whole thing would be start to finish. Obviously, one contractor to put everything together, everything from concrete to electrician to HVAC to the whole works. I'm assuming that's kind of the way the city works, all these contractors. So that's kind of what we're looking from a start to finish. So I don't know exactly what materials. I know the original material that we were shown was a concrete preformed that I believe was welded together, and we talked about that wasn't something that we wanted to go with. I think you said steel stud construction. Is that what you said, Steve?
We could go steel stud, but
okay.
we can also go timber strand. One of the questions, John, that I really can't answer for you, how high a ceilings did you want in there?
I don't think the ceiling height really makes that much difference to me. I guess it would matter on the pitch as far as that's concerned, because I would assume that you could put an attic in there, because you can only go so high anyway. We're only going by what the customer can reach. So.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, but didn't you want, like in your storage area, you wanted like shelving?
Yes, pallet racking, kind of like Home Depot, and I'm sure Mike is probably familiar with that. A lot of liquor stores use that, where you can actually use forklifts to put pallets up above, not only in the back room, but on the sales floor to put warm beer for 12 packs and things like that.
So you're looking like a 12-foot high ceiling or 14? Or?
Yeah, I would think 12 to 14 would be plenty. I don't think.
In the back storage area?
In this back storage area, probably, about the same.
So
you want to go 12 to 14 throughout the whole entire
well, you
building.
would go 12, 14 say 14 in the back, and you could go to 12 on the retail side.
Correct. The
So then
retail
all
I
your
don't need as
ductwork
big.
and everything could be in between that 2 foot. So you'd have to look at 14-foot sidewalls, go up, and then we can either soffit or do something, other design or something to cover some of that,
Sure.
So that kind of helps you out a little bit there, Mike?
Yeah, that's great. And actually, when I was looking through all of your information, the interior height was actually one of my first questions, so you all beat me to it. But in terms of the overall construction type, I've worked on everything from precast to wood stud construction or steel stud. And so, when we're talking about a building that's approximately 12,000 square feet, to me, the first thing that I was looking for was, and then even from a retail layout standpoint, is the depth of the building. And so, what was that configuration? If we get past that 60, 80 feet, then then do we have some kind of an interior beam and column line? But in looking at your proposed layout, I could see, the separation between the back of the house and the retail floor. That could certainly be a bearing point there, and we could clear span that. So as I think about a liquor store or any kind of retail environment, I just certainly look for a construction type that allows you that flexibility. And as you know, in terms of retail liquor having different seasonal sales opportunities, you certainly want to have it flexible out there. And so hearing the overall ceiling height and what your expectations there are, that certainly helps me out. In terms of the precast concrete, that certainly seems like obviously a very durable construction type, but I guess in my mind, I wasn't going there. I think doing a heavier gauge steel stud, you could certainly rely on that for bearing. And, it'd be interesting to hear also just the interior finish in terms of what you're thinking. I mean, oftentimes, at least with me, my perception of a liquor store is the interior finish is your product. It's a lot of wall space with shelving and the product that you want to sell. So, whenever I work on a project like this, I usually start there and ask those types of questions. But I think it's fantastic that from a planning standpoint, you've got, the manager there and offering up his thoughts, because the whole idea is moving product, and nobody knows that more than the manager of the store. So as far as the pitched roof is concerned and construction costs and how I like to work, I oftentimes will introduce or bring in contractors and talk about different scenarios. So when I talk about a construction cost, I don't necessarily just rely on a square foot number. What I like to do is provide a comprehensive look at a budget, and it's a project budget. So you've got soft costs, you've got land acquisition, and then what you can start to do then is identify from a shelving standpoint, whether you got Lozier shelving or Interlake in the back of the house, equipment. You can provide all of those line items within the divisions of construction, and then you can break out maybe what's provided by owner, maybe what won't be subject to the competitive bidding process. So what I like to do is have some conversations up front with some contractors, whether that be mechanical, electrical, and a general contractor, but just talk through some of these scenarios of, all right, if we want to go with the pitched roof, here's what we're thinking for the overall span, here's the pitch, here's the overall exterior aesthetic that we're thinking. But I really like to have those conversations early on, so that my idea or what we talk about in terms of budget is comprehensive. We're taking everything into account right off the bat. It isn't just a generalized square foot number. And then it's also based on real-time actual costs out there within the industry. And so I really like to work with contractors, and I just like working within reality, I guess, is really what I like to do. So as far as the services that we would provide, we are a architecture engineering firm, so we do provide mechanical, electrical, architectural, structural, civil, but we understand you have civil taken care of. But that's the other thing I really like about our approach, is that it's thinking about your entire building. And I learned a long time ago from a client that, you build a building to own and operate. And, it's one thing to build it, but for you to own and operate it, that's how you got to think. It's the longevity of the building and how it's being used. And so that's really, I think, our strength, is that we view design and how this thing would go together from your perspective, and that is the people that are running and operating this facility.
Are you a fan of like a wine cellar type, wine cave kind of thing?
Well, no, we didn't even discuss any of that, so that's something future tense. We want to get the thing taken care of and built, and we can go from there as far as the aesthetics and the extra things, yeah.
Okay.
So Mike, I can't remember on Cornerstone, was there stone on the front of that too?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Was there stone on the front of Cornerstone building?
Oh, I am trying to, I drive by it just about every other day. I know we used a mix of facings there.
I think there was stone on up to the bottom of the first row of windows, the windows.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember, it's been a while. Look in your calendar, because it's on that. Mike just showed it to me today.
that's what I was just thinking. Where is one of our calendars around here? Just remember, I had trouble with my cursor earlier. Now you're asking me for a calendar. Oh my goodness.
So I guess, John, is there anything else that you'd like to ask, or?
Well, I think, if we can go over the particulars, and you can ask those questions of the things that you want and things that I want. I know we talked a little bit about some of the exterior and things like that, and I want polished concrete, and And some of those things that, and then I had in the plans, I had 2 registers planned for and a future 2 registers on the same thing. So that's where you were talking about how are the beams going across. Even if it went through the center of the store, I'd be fine with that. Because then we can draw down a pole to add 2 more registers and things like that. So those are just some of the little things that you look at in the, design part of it too, so.
Yeah, one of the things I liked about what you had put together was the flooring finish that you're thinking of. To me, that's a nice durable finish that will last you a long time. And as we're talking about walk-in coolers, and all of that equipment, so the one thing that we often try to think of as well is the remote condensers. Where are we going to be putting all of that serves all of your, the coolers and free walk-in coolers, excuse me. So one of the things also as we work on these projects is trying to think of all that mechanical equipment, getting that up off the ground, or at least finding a place where it makes sense to have all that. So it's from heating and cooling systems, it's getting you the right design solution so that it just prevents headaches for you guys down the road. One of the other things, as you take a look at maybe a certain shelving, and I don't know if you do any lighting or have any ideas about power, but sometimes we'll do we'll rough in for electrical within the floor itself. But again, that kind of locks you into a certain layout too with shelving, and just having that flexibility to drop down power might be the right move for you as well. Right. As far as deliveries and, again, just the efficiency of bringing product in and getting it on the sales floor, your site, I did see the image of that. And as far as site circulation, I'm assuming you thought that through, or at least have a general comment or a general concept. That's another thing that we really try to work with clients on as well. Where's the location of your deliveries? How is that coming in? And then from a staffing standpoint, how can you set up your sales floor so that there's, direct lines of sight and, just setting it up so that you're as efficient as possible too in terms of how many people you need to have on staff. So, yeah, just a lot of different things that we like to talk about. But again, the information that you put together is quite impressive. And again, just something that we don't always encounter in the design world, I'll say.
Yeah, I'm sure. The one thing too that we did talk about prior was the doing of a southwest entrance rather than a northwest entrance. So flipping the whole store the other direction. We do have a curbside door, and then as far as deliveries, we want a truck to be able to back down onto a dock, and then also have a side entrance as well. So, and then a curbside that's convenient for customers to just drive up, and then we can bring it out to their vehicle. So that's in that plan too, near the registers. So. Yeah. Yep. And then as far as exterior windows or glazing, natural light is nice, but oftentimes we'll achieve that through clear story lighting, or obviously just making sure that your exterior walls around the perimeter are free and clear for product and shelving. So, but natural light is a nice thing to have and helps out the interior environment. So within the interior, having that 12-foot clear, have y'all put any thought to whether or not you're going to have exposed ductwork and just trying to have that ceiling up as high as possible, or do you guys have any expectations from the interior side of things? So I was just wondering, do you do heat reclaim at a lot of your liquor stores? You know what I mean by heat reclaim, where you use the refrigeration units and then you can switch them over in the wintertime and use the heat that comes off of those. Do you do that typically? Yeah. It's it is a good way to recover that heat and utilize that. And so that's, kind of like I was saying, is what you do with all of that equipment and the mechanical associated with that. And so those are all the great conversations to have early on, again, in the design process, so that you just, like you've done already, you've got a great list of expectations, but, it's looking at your building holistically and how it can be
operate as efficiently as possible, and just some of those really innovative ways to, I guess, just kind of double up on some opportunities regarding that heat that's generated.
It'll be after this, or that they'll present it. So, Mike, what's your time frame on putting together a proposal for us that would have your fees as well as kind of what you're thinking for what you'd recommend for this facility?
So similar to what we've talked about last week, I would like to get you a proposal before the end of the year. So for me, that means by next week. And if that could time out with your upcoming city council meeting. And Josie, I'm assuming you said that?
Yes,
I can't see it. Oh.
Yes.
And so if that still works for you, I just want to make sure that we get it to you in plenty of time prior to when your packets go out to the city council.
Hi.
Oh, okay, there we go. So next week, if that's okay.
That's more than okay.
Yes, that would work. Thank you.
I really want, I want to alliterate a little bit. You know, Mike Cook talked pretty highly of you guys, real highly of you. So, and I know him and I had that conversation again this morning. So, I just think there's some better options that we can do with this thing. I've always been about efficiency, and 99% of the time people don't realize when you put up concrete, tip-up walls, preformed concrete walls, they're cold. They stay cold. They stay cold for a long time. I always tell people, go down in your basement. After you know, like this time of year, you go down to the basement. It's 30 degrees colder down there than it is upstairs when it's 40 below upstairs. You know, so we want to build this building efficiently. We want to build it responsibly. We want to be within this budget, make it work. I mean, we do have a budget number in mind, and God forbid if we can come in underneath it, hallelujah. You know, when I looked at the other proposal, I just thought that architectural and engineering firm was kind of out of line. You know, when they were talking how much more is for a pitched roof, and I thought that was out of the question. That's not even ridiculous. It's unrealistic to me. But I think you guys could get something going together for us. The sooner we get it, the better. I know John wants to get going on this building sooner than later. I mean, we're not going to start till spring anyway. But you know, the people that I kind of have in mind, you know, Mr. Cook, PMI, or even BJ Boss up in Cambridge, and you probably have some other ones you work with that we can definitely get pricing from. I think once they get this estimated out and we accept their proposal, I'm sure they would start the minute they sign the contract. So, you know, we're not looking for a Mortensen or a Carl Sanderson or anything. So.
Also in the room, Mike and Tim, is our finance director, Mike Becker. He's kind of, we like to call him Daddy Warbucks, so he's going to be the guy that says yes or no. So I'm pretty sure that Mr. Becker would like to speak up on something as well, so I'll turn it over to him.
Yeah, so just a couple of quick comments is, one, we do have the budget for hard costs, soft costs, all broken down, shelving, the whole 9 yards. We do have all that figured out, and we know where we want to be on that. But more importantly, I want to make sure that this gets said, because I don't know if this has been communicated clearly or not. You know, this is all based on a 7,000 square foot sales floor. We need to have at least that much. Don't need to go over, but we got to have that much. And the entire thing is predicated not just on us moving and having a great building, but we need to be able to pick up 12% market share. That's part of the deal. The number one way we're going to do that is by being the most easily accessible liquor store on northbound 65. We have to be able to get in and out of the site easy, and it has to be easy to get into the store, and it has to be easy for curbside pickup. And ideally, we can accommodate RVs and 26-foot trailers, give them some parking, but also make that curbside pickup available. Because this is, I mean, if we don't make ourselves an attraction, we don't hit 12%, this whole thing kind of falls apart anyway. So we got to hit those basics.
Okay, very good to know.
In the site work, as was indicated earlier, is going to be done by your city engineer, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, but just so we understand how the layout's got to be on the orientation and inside the store, and so that we understand the goals on that as well.
Yeah, and if you have any questions on the interior things that I had drawn up on there, you certainly ask me or get a hold of Josie, and they can get a hold of me too, so.
Our city engineer is present right now. If you gentlemen have any questions for the city engineer, the store manager, finance director, city administrator, the city council, we're all here to your beck and call right now. So I encourage you to ask away, because you can bet your bottom dollar that we would do the same. So you have anything now, by all means, ask away.
Well, I think for me personally, I can't speak for Tim, but the conversations that I've had thus far with Josie and the city engineer have been very productive. And again, the information you've sent has been extremely informative. In terms of identifying what the scope of this project is, I feel very well informed. And so that really helps me out in terms of getting you a very detailed proposal. And, as was discussed last week, at least with our separate group, our services do include through design, through construction, and after. So we are in it for the long haul. That's our preference. We want to be there for you in the beginning, during the middle, and even afterwards. So that's our goal, is to have the informal relationship with you. But yeah, it's an exciting project. I really like the tempo and the pace of what you have put together. I like working on projects like this. So I'm excited. And as far as our proposal, I'm open to attending a meeting I don't know what you guys are doing, but if you'd like us to be there to present it in person, I'm open for that too. So just let me know what you guys are doing and how you're handling that. But I would be open to talking to you face to face. That's my preference, but I'll respect your process these days.
I'd like them to be open to everybody.
We're more than willing.
We're more than open for that.
We're more than open to let you come here in person, Mike.
Okay, great.
You too, Tim.
And Tim, you're welcome too, because I like your haircut, so.
And I just got a cut too, yeah.
So I think as soon as we receive their proposal, I'll email it all out to council so you can review it, and then we can go from there on our next steps, and we'll talk about that a little bit afterwards. We can let Mike and Tim go, and if we don't have any further discussion, so we can keep going.
We look forward to your proposal, gentlemen.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and just to echo a little bit what everybody's said, great information. I've used this ratio before, but I think you folks are thinking long-term, the operation of a store like this. These numbers aren't exact, but they're order of magnitude. You spend $1 on design and everyone thinks that's a big number. You spend $10 on construction, and yes, that's a bigger number. But I mean, over the life of a building, you can spend $100. The heating, the air conditioning, the cleaning, the different repairs that are needed, mechanical equipment, et cetera, over time. So we appreciate the upfront work, because that is important, and doing it right the first time. So thank you very, very much for the opportunity.
And thank you both for your time as well.
You bet. Well, thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mayor and Council, if I may just ask we'll get the proposal from them likely at the end of next week. I'll send that out. For next steps, I mean, we do have the proposal from Brunton. Would you like staff to reach out to Brunton to have them revise, because they did not get the exact same information that this architectural firm had? Do you want to have them revise that, or request that they revise it, have them do a presentation such as this? Or do we know that we want to go with this firm even before we see the numbers? What would you like staff to do for next steps?
I'd like to give the other guys an opportunity to correct their bid and see how they compare. I think we have an obligation to consider multiple options.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd agree.
So, Jason, we'll set up another call with Brunton if they're if they're willing, or just maybe perhaps you and I, and clarify some of those things and ask them to revise their proposal?
Is it, John, with this new store, are you opposed to getting like used racking? For storage, not for display?
Oh, definitely. In fact, Mike and I have talked about reusing what we have and having maybe metal coatings powder coat the shelves that I currently have, so. we
For
plan on-
storage?
Oh,
Yeah,
for
I'm
storage.
talking
Oh, for storage,
big
we can go
pallet
that.
racks?
Yep, we can go with, yeah, I'm not opposed to that. Absolutely not.
Tri-state surplus out of Big Lake.
No, pallet racking, I don't
yeah.
care if it's used.
You can.
Yeah,
You
we-
can't ruin that
What
stuff.
they do is they pull it out of like closed stores and then resell it, but it's a ton cheaper than going with
Yeah,
brand
with
new stuff.
John and I had talked about if we need to make budget, we would even go with 2x4s and 2x6s in the back and build shelving if that's what if that's what it took to make budget, that's what we do.
I mean, I got a ton of it at my work that's the big stuff you see like at Home Depot and I came out of there with a trailer and a dump truck load of this shelving, pallet racking, and I would say maybe it was like $1,200.
Yeah. Well, I
you
think
can
the
put-
back,
it's all
the sales floor though, I would definitely would want
structurally
clean, nice
strong and-
painted stuff rather than, the back room, I could care less. So,
Right, yeah, I just wanted your opinion, it's just maybe another avenue that could save some money.
Yep, absolutely.
Everybody covered everything? We're good? All right, let's move on to E9, Open Minnesota.
It actually should say reopen Minnesota. I put that on the schedule. Thank you, Josie. I don't know how many people have heard of this, but there's a group, there's about 150 businesses that have been shut down that are going to open tomorrow. And I got the idea that we should maybe take a stand on this. We don't have to tell anyone they can or can't open, but I don't know how many people read on Facebook the gal from Snap Fitness. She talked about how hard it was for her to shut down her business, and that she's a young married mother of 3 kids and very passionate about her business, and it was hard for her to shut down. And so I'm just wondering, as a city, if we can somehow support them, you know, say, we feel good about having you open, you know. I don't know how you guys feel about that. We went a little bit against the grain with the street dances. Anybody have any thoughts?
I mean, we had declared ourselves a business-friendly community in the past, you know, and I would, if there's a way to go further than that, I would support going further than that, but I don't know what else we can really do on our end, you know, other than say, hey, we're not gonna, you know, we support you, and
That's all I'm looking for. I'm not saying anything other than,
Here's my biggest question. All these stipulations have been put on everybody throughout the state of Minnesota. And who, is the governor gonna send out his own police department to make sure this is all upheld? Because I'm sure our chief and his cops have better things to do than to be policing our businesses.
Until he gets one call from somebody, then he has to.
Well,
He doesn't have- his
then
hands are
then
tied
he
at
just
that point.
turn, call the state, is what I'd assume he'd say.
I mean, when we declared ourselves a business-friendly community, did we kind of direct him to turn a blind eye to those types of activities? or-
There's this,
I don't think we've ever told him
Yeah.
what to do,
Yeah.
and I don't think we're gonna start.
I'm not looking to tell the police chief what to do.
No.
I think he's wise enough to know what to enforce and what not to enforce, and not that we have to even ask him what he's gonna do.
I don't think I would say yay, nor would I say nay on any business that opened here.
I just as soon see every business that got opened back up.
I agree.
I personally, I'm not gonna be one that's gonna take the vaccination. I don't agree with the numbers, I don't agree with any of this, but it's not for me to tell somebody they can and can't do something. I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna put the liability on this city.
That's my only issue, is
I'm not gonna put
liability's
the
big.
liability in this city, in this council, because if one of us says yes, you know all the rest of us are gonna get drug into this. So what ends up happening is let's all of a sudden they say there's a lawsuit over this thing. You, Mr. Gordon, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Carlson, myself, the rest of the city staff, the chief of police, everything down the line is going to be drug into this thing. It is a very touchy thing. Personally, they can open up, I could care less. That's their business. It's not mine. Just like I'm being told that I can't have anybody out of my house come for Christmas. I got my apprentice that rides 3 feet from me all day long for an hour and a half one way. We spend 10 hours a day working on the job together, spend another hour and a half driving home, and you're going to tell me I can't have him in my
I get
house?
all the issues.
But what I'm just saying is
Bet you he's coming over for Christmas.
yeah. But I'm just saying is I'm not going to tell them that, you know, I want to be a business-friendly community, but I'm not going to tell them that they should open up. I'm not going to tell them they should.
I'm not telling anyone they should open up. I'm just saying,
But I wouldn't say they should, nor would I say they shouldn't.
That's going to be a call that they have to make and have to suffer their consequences.
well, I'm just saying we should just be, if there's a way we can be supportive, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying we should tell them, you should open up,
We
you
just,
shouldn't open up.
we just discussed that earlier about may possibly waiving fees.
Yeah.
Yep.
Being supportive right there.
No, I don't disagree with that. I'm not saying it isn't being supportive. I'm just wondering if there's any more we can do. That's all I'm saying.
If I may, Mayor and Council, when we had this discussion previously, I think in the spring, and we ended up passing the resolution for business friendly, it was this, the same kind of discussion. We reached out to the city attorney. He helped draft that resolution because that's what we could do, and he felt legally that we had no liability in it, that we encouraged the businesses to be a business here. At that time, now I haven't reached out recently, at that time, though, the League of Minnesota Cities, who we have our insurance through, was saying that, well, if the cities go against the orders, there may become a possibility of an issue with us providing that insurance carrier benefit. So I'm not sure if that's still the instance, but the guidance that we received from our city attorney is that we should abide by mandated laws, not for us to say and get into we encourage businesses to open against governor's orders.
I'm all
What
for
kind of language was in that? And did we say, I'm trying to remember what it said even actually, as far as like our resources would be spent to, I can't remember what it even said. I was gonna try to look for it here quick, but.
Well, when we took an oath of office here, we did say we'd abide by the United States Constitution and the Minnesota Constitution. And at what point in time do we say the governor's orders are unconstitutional? So
we can argue
I
that
think we specifically
ball over.
left that language, we may have left that language out, so let me see if I can.
There was just a restaurant that was shut. I don't know,
Fined
chief,
and
maybe
shut
you
down.
see that in the news? They decided we're opening, and he got his hand slapped pretty good.
And they may not be
I know they're
reopening.
throwing, I see it all over the place. They're throwing fines at a lot of these people and they're threatening them with jail.
And
time
then, and it's not just that, we don't issue them a license of any sort, say for like a restaurant, that comes through the state. And if the state could turn around and say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not renewing your license. That's a risk they gotta take themselves. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, they're doing that. I'm not even saying we need to take a risk. I'm just saying, I'm just wondering if there's anything we can do, vote of support type of, hey, we support you, whatever you do, not, we would support you. We don't think you should open, we don't think you should close.
See if I can pull it up here. I don't have it on my phone, but I should be able to pull it up.
I found pictures of other ones that we had discussed, but I can't remember what it actually.
I would love to show every business that stands up against it support. You know, it's just like somebody says to you, you know, I'm not a big mask fan, I really am not, but I'm required to when I go into a grocery store or gas station, Menards, whatever. I wear it out of respect to them more so than me. I walk in there, what's the worst can happen? Throw me out. They could get fined by the state. I don't want to put that position onto them.
I think we've sold a couple pieces of land already this year for $1 or whatever it was, you know, so I mean, we're definitely supporting local businesses.
I think we've shown a lot of support.
Yeah.
And we've made that obvious that we support our businesses and we're a business-friendly city. I don't think there's no denying that. As far as,
We've done that without any liability.
I did find the email from the city attorney that when he had reviewed the draft of this, his recommendation was to take out the word unconstitutional, so he called that out because saying that the governor's order is unconstitutional technically is not correct. So I think without getting into that dispute, that was his recommendation. So resolution, if you are on the Zoom meeting and you'd like to know, this is resolution 2020-109 that was passed on June 2nd of this year.
What reason did he give to say that that was technically incorrect? Did he say why saying it was unconstitutional was technically incorrect?
To some people, it's factual. To other people, that's an opinion. Yep.
Yeah, he doesn't really say, he just said, my suggestion is that the word constitutional be removed, as it suggests that the governor's actions are not constitutional, which is not entirely accurate, which was not accurate. So, but I think that it's determined by a court of law.
I mean, when
Judicial system.
I don't know if you guys are aware, but I was emailed, I think, Ms. Wood, you got the same email that he was requesting that all cities mandate Thanksgiving visitations.
Oh, I did not see that one.
What was the email that we talked about that you had said, are we going to get behind this?
That came from the governor?
I don't know.
I can't recall it either. Dang it. I don't have my phone to look it up.
Usually, I mean, there would be something that they asked for it to be a mayor's proclamation. I ask,
Or the county, was it the county? He was asking everybody in the county, or that he wanted to, Chief, do you remember that one? What was that one? So it was the county that was reaching out. And it had to do with,
the letter of support.
There it
the county
is.
with the pandemic. Oh,
there it
okay.
is.
Yeah, they were asking all cities and law enforcement agencies within Isani County to basically band together for the support of making sure that people, I think it was, people stay home and they don't interact. Yes, it was before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I don't think it was necessarily stated about Thanksgiving, but that people should respect the governor's orders and that you shouldn't gather in groups and da-da-da-da. We did not
Yeah.
write a letter of support for that.
No. Because my comment, and it came out of my mouth, and it's my opinion, that he wants somebody to do that for him, he can send his own police department. Because ours has something better, or definitely has better things to do
And
than,
that letter doesn't say that, you know, I mean, that letter has no teeth, really. I mean, it's just saying, Mr. Governor, please knock what you're doing off, and that's it, you know? I mean, are you looking for something that has more teeth, that says, hey, our police department's not gonna enforce your rules? I mean, I
I
think
just
that
wonder if we
does.
should take this right here and give it to our businesses and just tell them, hey,
we reached out already and give him a copy of that, we could definitely do that.
yeah.
I mean, it's
I
public
think so.
information.
Yeah.
As far as putting more teeth on something and directing our police department to do or not to do
I'm not
something,
looking to direct
no
the police
way.
department. You're not getting me to say direct the police department. I didn't say that.
We have a chief of police for a reason, and I fully and wholeheartedly support him on what he's doing.
Well, I do too. That's why.
Or what he's not doing.
I never said direct the police department. That wasn't my thing. Here's, in my opinion, what it comes down to. There's rumors that when Biden takes office, that we're gonna have a 100-day lockdown. And so here we go again.
Well,
I
there's
mean,
not rumors, that's actually, he spoke of it.
I know.
Not a
okay,
rumor.
But you know, what comes out of their mouth doesn't mean that's what they're gonna do.
No.
That's what I mean by rumor. So anyway, so.
He'll forget he said it.
He spreads his own rumors about himself. So here we go. You know, what happens after 1 year lockdown? I mean, when that happens, it'll be all the way into April. So eventually, when is enough? So that's my only point.
I mean, I think we've gone as far as we can go unless you wanna actually say, hey, it's unconstitutional and our police department's not gonna enforce your rules. Which is gonna open us up, like you said, to liability and lawsuits, and
And that is
We
one
don't
thing
do-
I
we
have
don't do
said since
licensing.
January 7th of 2019, that
We don't do the licensing for these things, so I mean, it's not, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot of benefit really for us to even
And
be
we don't want-
involved. I mean, I wish we had more of a say on this kind of stuff.
as well as I
We
do.
don't, you know, I mean.
Well,
And there is, Mr. Becker, did you say that you had read, that they are coming out with more financial support for businesses? Can you speak on that?
Yeah, the state they did pass some financial aid, was it just yesterday or Friday? So, and I forget the dollar amount that's coming on that, but, and it seems to me that the federal government will probably come up with something before the end of the year. So, well, I mean, we'll see how that shakes out, and hopefully they aim that at the right sectors. But
But I mean, maybe I mean, you could make the argument that it's our job to defend each citizen's constitutional rights, and, you know, our attorney may not think that it's unconstitutional, but I can guarantee you there are some that will.
oh, absolutely. You know,
Because I think he's abusing the emergency powers that, I think that's pretty obvious.
I said that the third time you did it.
Yeah.
I've said that the first time you did it.
I mean, do we have an obligation to open ourselves up to liability and to fight that battle? Maybe we do, you know, but.
Well, I know not everybody would agree. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that, but I'm saying I think we should show them support and just say.
I think we have,
well,
Councilman Burgess.
I don't know.
I don't think we
know if-
can, I don't think we
know.
can legally step in and say that.
Yeah.
It
No.
could open us up for liability suit, and I wouldn't,
We can't say we support our businesses no matter what they do, because we don't know what they're gonna do.
Well, I'm not saying we support them no matter what they do. I'm just saying we support them in doing business in the city is all I'm saying.
Well, that's what.
We always have.
Yeah,
Well.
We always
even-
will.
Even if they open against the governor's order, do you support that?
we can't
That's-
say that we would support that.
We can't say
can't-
we do or we don't.
Well,
That's liability, and as I said, as January 7th of 2019, Ms. Wood can vouch that my thing has always been, I will not let liability lie in this city's or this council's hands.
It only,
Because we're opening ourselves up for huge lawsuits with liability.
it affects our employees directly.
Absolutely. Now we're messing with her family and hers and his and hers and his and his. I'm not willing to do that. No way.
I'm not saying I am either. I'm just,
I think we've been more than supportive of every business within the city. We've done what we can do legally, and I wish there was more we could do, but
well, we should hand that out to every business. Just, here you go, here's.
it's
this-
public info, Councilman Burgley. They
I
can
get that,
request it
but-
just as much as we can hand it out.
No, I'm not saying it's not public info, but how many actually know that that's public info? Things can be public info without knowing it's public info. I'm not saying it's not public info.
That's another thing I've stated since January 7th of 2019, is I have nothing to hide, and I don't think this council does either. I don't think any of these employees do. We're very
And
transparent.
no one's accused you of hiding anything. That's not even
We're
my point.
very transparent. All they have to do is go to
And
the
that's
city
not even my
website.
point. See,
Motion to
you're taking this
adjourn.
totally out of
No, I just have a
context.
comment. Maybe one thing that we could do to bring more awareness of how we support the businesses is that we could rewrite this, because this is outdated now, it's June, and this has continued to go on, and re-update it to say, you know, as this has continued to go on, Governor, we really encourage to reopen Minnesota, and we passed another resolution.
We could do that.
I mean, at what point would you be willing to take on liability to protect your citizens in this city? I mean, I think that's another question that's.
Are you willing to, you're the
I don't know.
finance
I mean,
watchdog.
that's what
Are you willing to
we
give up a
willing to
huge
spend that kind of
lawsuit?
money on a lawsuit? Yeah.
You are?
I'm not saying I am. No, I'm saying that that's the question. That's what I'm saying, is that do we have an obligation? I mean, at what point do we not? At what point are we going to step in and say, our businesses are dying? We have to
Everybody in
protect
this
them.
world knows their
I
businesses
know.
is
So,
dying.
I mean, that's my only question is, I mean, are we gonna wait and wait and wait and wait? Or at some point, are we gonna say, this is enough, and we're gonna stand up for our businesses, whether we get sued or not? But I mean, the thing is we just really don't have enough.
Well,
say
I'm
about
just,
what
it's all
happens.
speculative right now. I'm not saying take any action. I mean,
Every
I
one
would
of
be willing
us
to take
is-
that and copy that off and hand it to the businesses that are shut down, you know?
We got a council meeting in less than 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I can be
wrap
done.
it up.
We're just discussing theory
Please.
right now.
Yeah, it's all speculative right now. It was just for discussion, is all it was.
Bottom line, we all took the same oath.
And that's
Every one
exactly
of us.
right, to abide by the Constitution.
You are
By
correct.
The United States and the Minnesota State Constitution.
And even though that sometimes we disagree with it, it's still the oath we took.
Well, I'm saying that.
And
not
if you
everything's
don't
being
agree
done.
with that
So-
oath and you can't abide by that oath, then what are you doing here?
I don't think
Exactly,
that's-
I'm
that's
asking
not-
you the
that's-
same
that's
question.
not
What are
the
you doing
question
here?
that
if-
Paul's asking, yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking, what are you
He's
doing here
asking
then?
is the Constitution.
Is the
he doesn't
Constitution
believe
being
the
abided by?
Constitution gives the governor this ability
Yeah,
to do this.
exactly.
And
I'm
I
gonna
guess-
turn around and ask you the exact same question.
Look, when you go home tonight, look up the Constitution and
There you
highlight
go.
what you think is being,
Thanks, Councilman
and then bring it
Carlson.
back.
There you go. Look it up.
Yep.
What I believe and what legally can happen,
Are two different
different
things.
things.
I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying you guys might be right. I'm just opening this up for discussion, is all I'm doing. I'm not saying any action, anything. Like Councilman Gordon said, this is all speculative right now. He doesn't know if he's willing, but he's saying he's at least willing to ask the question, when will it be time to take
I
that
can't wait
position?
anymore.
I think that's something to dwell on.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't expect any decision to be made here. I have a motion, we close, we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Burgley to adjourn and a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-1, or 4 with 1 absent, so therefore we stand adjourned.